Monday, May 24th is the official launch date, the official release date of my new book, my 6th book overall, entitled Iconic Hotels and Motels of Cape Cod through the History Press. So that's only a few days after this podcast goes live. And it's been a long journey to get this book out, and I'm really excited, and I hope you all like it. Anyone who has checked out any of my previous books, if you haven't heard of any of them or read any of them, don't worry, this isn't a series where you need to have read the other books to understand this one. Iconic Hotels and Motels is the finish of my trilogy as far as Cape Cod history goes. So I've done 3 books now through the History Press: Historic Restaurants of Cape Cod Nights, and now Iconic Hotels and Motels. This trilogy is basically where you went to eat on Cape Cod, where you went to drink and party on Cape Cod, and then where you went to sleep it off. And I kid you not, that was the marketing idea behind it when I pitched this book to the publisher. I said, I want to do this book. I said, this is what I'm thinking, and they loved it. As far as the process of getting this book written and submitted and edited, it has been kind of a slog because right before my manuscript was due, COVID broke out. So basically, things in the publishing world got set back for sure. I submitted this manuscript the first week of April of last year, and I didn't hear anything back from the publisher about the status of the book until I believe it was October. So we're talking 6 months at least. And during that time, with the pandemic just raging, I was figuring this book was dead in the water, and I was going to eventually hear, sorry, we can't do it. But they reached out to me, and it was one of those like, oh my God, I forgot I had a book that I had written. And we did all the editing and all the deciding on photos and such to create the finished product. And it's got the best cover, I think, of any of my books, personally. I did hours and hours, tons of hours of research for this book, because when you're doing history, I do it for the podcast too. Your main thing is you need to be accurate to the very best of your ability, because the last thing you want is someone coming up that has intimate knowledge of a place and saying, no, your stuff is wrong, because then immediately your book is seen as a fraud. That's why in these books, there's always a disclaimer saying that all of the information in here is accurate to the best of the author's ability, because I always want to leave that wiggle room. Like, look, I tried my best to get the info. This is all from newspaper, magazine, articles, interviews. Never do I just make something up. The editor for Cape Cod Life magazine a couple years ago, I did a series of articles called The Shape of the Cape. And the editor, a man named Matt Gill, he helped me become a better writer because he would come back at me with questions about the articles. And they would be these minute details that would drive me nuts. If I was talking about the erosion of an area, I had to find out the exact details, how many feet per year average. If I was talking about the population of a town, I had to know the number. So I kind of started writing and researching like that, thinking that I was writing for Matt Gill still. So if he ever hears that, I want you to know you helped make me a better writer by getting on me with those questions. The book in general is close to 40,000 words, which is a lot, but it isn't a lot, if that makes sense. And when choosing Iconic Hotels and Motels, the main gist, so the History Press, Arcadia Publishing, they gave me carte blanche with this book and the previous 2. The thing is, with the restaurants book, every spot I put in there was closed. It was now a part of history. So if you got that book, there was no place you could read about and then go to it to have a meal. With Cape Cod Nights, historic nightlife of Cape Cod, some of the bars and nightclubs were still open, like a handful, so that there were places you could still go. So the main gist with this book is they wanted the majority to still be open as far as hotels and motels. That was literally the only condition they put on this book. I could choose any place that I thought was worthy, and I did. I mean, everyone's list of iconic hotels and motels, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, it's all going to be subjective. I've had people come at me and ask me, oh, is this going to be in there? Is that going to be in there? Because those are their places that they see as iconic. So I have some of the most well-known and most popular resorts, hotels in here. When I think of the most iconic resorts on Cape Cod, my mind goes right to Wequassett, Chatham Bars Inn, Ocean Edge, and those are with literally no thinking. I just close my eyes and I'm like, yep, those are the best. But then you dig a little deeper, you do a little research, and that's when you find other ones that are just as good that you didn't know about, like the Land's End Inn, Lighthouse Inn. But then you dig deeper, and you've got places that were resorts but also were as well known for their restaurants, like the East Bay Lodge, Daniel Webster Inn, and Old Yarmouth Inn. And then you dig a little deeper, and you go back and you find the most historic spots of yesteryear, the history that I really enjoy. That's when you get into places like the Pines in Cotuit, Chequessett Inn in Wellfleet, which is one of my favorites, Aberdeen Hall out on Great Island in Yarmouth. In my opinion, what makes a spot iconic to be in this book, the main part of it is longevity. If you were around for 70, 80, 90 years, or if you're still around and you've been going strong, that means something. Hotels, restaurants, bars, many of them just come and go and close down and change hands. So if you've been able to stay true to your vision for that long, you deserve to be in there. A place like East Bay Lodge in Osterville was open for over 100 years. So regardless of what's there now, it's condos, I believe. But that spot deserved to be in there for a hotel and as a restaurant. Another factor, if you didn't get to that kind of longevity, is how bright your star shone in the time that it was open. I look at a place like Chequessett Inn in Wellfleet. They were open less than 50 years. It's still a long time, but they were on this wharf near Mayo Beach in Wellfleet. I'll be going way over that in a future podcast episode because I just find it fascinating. But if you look at photos of it, it looks like something that never could have existed on Cape Cod. It looks out of place, which makes it fascinating. Or you look at something like Hotel Chatham, which was in existence for less than 20 years. And it was literally on one of the fairways of what is now the Eastward Ho Golf Course in Chatham. It was essentially the first big summer resort on Cape Cod. So that makes a historic impact. That's another factor, is the kind of impact it had on the future. So even though it lasted less than 20 years, it deserves to be in the book for the impact it had. Same with the Santuit House in Cotuit. That was the first real Cape Cod hotel. So not a summer resort like Hotel Chatham, but it was in existence for 65 years. And that's the OG of hotels on Cape Cod. So that's how I chose my places. I'm sure that you who read the book in the future, you're going to have your own opinions. Why wasn't this in there? Why wasn't that in there? And it's nothing against those places. It's just I had my choices, and they're all subjective. Normally when a book gets released, I do a book launch party. A bunch of people come. We have food and drinks, and I do a whole PowerPoint presentation and talk about the book. But obviously with COVID still not over, you can't really have these big indoor gatherings, so that's not going to happen. So Monday, May 24th, I'm going to do a book launch live stream on Instagram at 7:30 p.m. Any of you that are listening to this, if you want to hop over to my Instagram channel, Christopher Setterlund, easy to find me. I'll be going live to go way more in depth on the book. This is meant to be kind of a general overview. And depending on when you're listening to this podcast, the book is either available for pre-order through the History Press and Amazon, or it is available everywhere in stores if it's after May 24th. I hope you will give it a try and let me know what you think of it. This is my 6th book, so I'm pretty proud to have a full 6-pack of actual books in stores. This one is dedicated to my nieces and nephews, Kaylee, Emma, Liam, Landon, Lucas, and Sylvie. 6 of them, 6 books, so it's kind of a nice fitting thing. The irony is I have a 7th book I'm starting to work on, so I don't know if there's going to be a 7th niece or nephew coming. Who knows? We need that symmetry. Join me for that live stream Monday, May 24th. And as we go along in summer, hopefully there'll be a chance to do some actual book events in front of people. But until then, keep your eyes open. Iconic Hotels and Motels of Cape Cod by me, available through the History Press starting May 24th. And I hope you enjoy all the hard work I put into it. I hope you enjoy it.